Hello and welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Julianne Ingles from Guts Publishing, who's going to have a chat with us this evening about the publishing industry. So to start with, Julianne, can I just ask you to talk about your background a bit? How did you get into writing, editing, and publishing? And yeah, how did you first get started?
Yep. Okay. Well, I started as a writer, as most publishers probably do, and I started writing probably maybe 20 or 25 years ago, and then got into I got my first degree, my first master's degree in creative writing in 2010, and then I got another one in modern literature in 2018, and during right after the MA course, I published my first book, and it was uh, this is probably leading into one of the questions, but that was sort of how I ended up getting into publishing, and editing just comes along with writing. As you get ready to publish your work and start pitching to agents, you learn how to edit, and so I just had a lot of experience writing and editing from my own, personal creative writing.
And what book did you write? Did you get it
I
traditionally
mean,
published or what?
no, I did not. I self-published my first book, and it was an autobiographical novel, and I'm not going to tell you the title. It was something that it was an experiment. I don't feel that I have the personality to be an author and be the face of a book, and that was what I learned because you have to sort of know how, you have to be willing to be the face of your book.
Mm.
And I'm a more of a behind the scenes person, but yeah, I learned a lot. And I was very driven to do it, and I'm glad I did it. It was a difficult experience, but I learned a lot, and then I decided I wanted to go into publishing after that.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about that journey? Did you go straight into starting your own company, or did you work within the industry before that?
I did not work in the industry before that. I had just finished my MA course at Goldsmiths in modern literature, and I pitched Goldsmiths College I pitched their creative and cultural entrepreneur. I think I can't remember the name of their college, but the one that deals with entrepreneurs and that type of business. And I pitched them to start a business in the UK because I'm American and I wanted to get established here and start a publishing company. And they took me on as a mentor to mentor me, and they sponsored me. They sponsored my visa for 3 years and helped me to develop Guts Publishing. So um, it was a combination of just, I was at that point where I needed to, I needed a new path and a new pursuit, and it was something I really, really wanted to do and had a lot of knowledge about. So it all just I think all the stars just aligned properly, and I ended up they were really excited to work with me. So
And which bit of America were you from originally?
I'm from Chicago, yeah,
Up north,
home of the Pope.
where it's windy.
Yeah, we're up far north. We're almost in Canada. I mean,
Right.
not far from it, but it's freezing. It's bitterly cold in the winter there. Beautiful in the summer. I wouldn't suggest it in the winter.
So you were prepared for the English weather anyway.
Well, no one can prepare you for all the rain, but yeah, it's not too far off, except it's just not as cold or as hot
Yeah.
as it is in Chicago.
So how did you start Guts Publishing then beyond that? How did you go about it and
I
how
mean,
did you decide what to focus on?
it was it was 100% a creative pursuit. I did not go into this like there is the guide to independent publishing, which I can't remember the exact title of the book, but there's a way if you want to go into publishing as an independent publisher, there's a way to go about it so that you can sort of be prepared and save your money because there's a lot of investment involved, and you have to know how to get a distributor and how to pitch your company to get proper funding and that type of stuff. I did not do any of that. I did it all just as like an artist because I mean I was before I was writing and and editing and publishing, I was a visual artist. And so everything that I've ever done has always been approached in a very creative way. And and I did this exactly in that way. And I sort of wanted to break all of the rules because I was very, very bored with what was being published. And so I had an opportunity to publish books that were that were controversial and that broke the mold and that were just I guess ballsy would be the word, and that was became our tagline in bold, so
Ballsy books about life.
yes.
And you kind of focus on real life stories. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do only 100% nonfiction in the beginning, but I quickly realized that not everyone is cut out to be a nonfiction writer. So we did the anthologies were we started with anthologies and they're fiction, nonfiction, and poetry.
Yeah. And how big is the publishing company? Is it just you, or do you have a couple of staff or freelancers or
I
anything like
mean,
that?
it mostly freelancers, and I've worked with a lot of really talented interns and assistants who have helped me immensely. But it's mostly a one-woman show working with freelancers and printers and distributors and just all of the just the regular book publishing, people that you would work with, bookshops and whatnot. But I'm the driving force behind it. So
I think that's the case with a lot of small publishers, actually. They've got one person behind it that drives it all forward.
it is, or it's a husband and wife team or a partnership. There's a lot of partnerships out there. I looked for a business partner for a long time and could not find one. I mean, I really, really approached a lot of people because it is something where you are in a much better position if there's two of you because it's so labor intensive and it's a lot of admin work, and you need someone else's feedback, and someone else's regular input to be successful, I think.
Yeah. I mean, how did you deal with that workload? Because I mean, how many submissions do you get? How do you deal with that?
I mean, in the beginning, I had a lot of interns because I was at Goldsmiths and they were all very excited about Guts Publishing. So they were very eager and willing to help me. And I had a lot of students reading manuscripts. I mean, you get really good at assessing really quickly whether or not it's something you want to pursue. Not necessarily if the writing is good or not good. It's just, is this up my street, and is this something you just get a vibe from it pretty quickly within a few pages or 10 pages. And then if it was something that I wanted someone else to read, I would ask an intern to read it, and so you just get very good at assessing quickly.
Hmm. And what was the first book you took on, and why did you decide to take it on?
It was an anthology, and I set the theme, and I still get embarrassed to this day. I'll just hold it up for you. Um, I have one right here. So we did our first anthology. I don't know if you can read that.
I can.
Yeah.
Stories about penises.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was our debut, and it was a really big hit because it was just so like this classical looking, sort of painting, the banana, and then that like Times New Roman or whatever the font is. But then the title was just there were so many I don't know, whatever controversies going on in there. But it was, there's a longer stories to why I picked that. But The short story is that I asked a friend of mine, I said, do you think, anyone would submit work? Because I thought that was way too outrageous. And he happened to be a gay guy. And he said, oh my God, that's a great idea, of course. So I just asked, I started asking people, and I never really dive into something without asking for a lot of opinions. So I got a lot of opinions because I thought it was far too outrageous. And the reception I got was like, oh my God, that's great because people are just so bored of the conservatism, in the publishing industry. And it just sounded like a lot of fun,
Mm,
like it definitely has some serious, really serious stories in it, but it was a lot of like fun and some of the more humorous takes,
yeah.
so I just got a lot of opinions and people just said, yeah, do it. And once I got the thumbs up from, like 10 people, I just decided to do it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, did you
Yeah.
have any problems putting that into bookshops, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Waterstones wouldn't they just scowled at me and said, this is a family bookshop. I was like, well, um, I don't know. You just Gaze the Word was the first bookshop to stock the book. Um,
Right.
and that's in North London, and they were really great and really supportive. And a couple other bookshops, but it was just like a breath of fresh air for everyone. They were like, oh, thank God it's not like another like, stale short story anthology. Not that there's anything wrong with being, I'm working my way into a corner here. I'm going to stop. I love short stories.
Probably wise. Probably wise.
I I love short stories so much, and I loved writing them on the MA course. But it's also like, what makes a short story collection stand out in a bookshop? They're really hard to sell. But
Yeah.
this one, it's a little bit loud, and but it was so much fun. It was
Mm.
really, really fun, and they're actually really pretty thoughtful. I mean, there's nothing. There's maybe one erotic story in there, and even then, it's very tastefully done. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Excellent. Very brave. So that's how you started off. And what did you do after that? Who was your first author? Like a person
First
that wrote their
author,
own book.
the first memoir. Well, we did one after that called Cyber Smut, which was about it was leaping off of one of the stories in one of the and it was just about the disconnection between people's online lives and their romantic and personal lives, and how technology impacts the way we love. And so cyber smut just stuck because it just sounds so outrageous, but they're very intelligently written stories. So that was the second anthology, and then the first memoir was Euphoric Recall, and that was the memoir about addiction, recovery from addiction and trauma. And this is this Scottish guy who was unpublished and very inexperienced writer, who had a story, and he had just gone through a 12-step recovery program and just barely, was just barely out of recovery, but was, passionate about spreading the word and helping other people to, uh, you just, I don't know, find a way out or find out why people become addicted and try to help. He just wanted to help people understand it and move through it. And so it was a real change in direction for us from these like really fun sex themed anthologies. But somehow it worked because it was also, um, fairly outrageous because it was talking about childhood sex abuse in the opening chapter, which is that's a scary topic for people, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how many books have you actually published?
10.
10.
And about 70 writers and 10 books.
Right, okay. And what goes into once you've taken a writer on, what's your process then? How do you edit the book? How do you produce it? And then how do you sell it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first step is just the editing process. It depends on where it like I've taken on manuscripts where the writing is really rough and it's really undeveloped. And then the first thing we do is try to, rewrite the book or reconstruct it or, give it, we just try to get it into shape. And so the first thing we do is start editing and working on a cover. Those are the two things. And then once it's in, kind of alongside that, you start thinking about who are you going to approach to get coverage of the book. And it's always going to be book reviewers, journalists, bloggers, and other authors, like high profile authors. So we start making a list. I think everything happens kind of all at once, but it's very focused on the edit and producing a really great book.
And hey, oh, Linda's asked a question. What makes a great memoir and what appeals to you the most? That's a good question.
I mean, I like these life-affirming books. I like there to be some transformation that the person goes through and somehow they overcome adversity. I mean, overcoming adversity is probably my main, it's probably, I don't know if everyone thinks that's a great theme for a memoir, but I think it is. You want to see a personal transformation and someone, um, just face their demons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kelly said, I love the way you think outside the box. Is that a prerequisite for writers to be published by you?
I mean, it helps a lot. Yeah. I mean, it helps a lot. I mean, I just think you write what you write and then it just depends on how daring you want to be and how far you want to go because everyone has different comfort level of how much they want to expose themselves. And not everyone can write about childhood sex abuse or like we did a one memoir about a young British woman who got into sugar dating, and then that eventually led into becoming a sex worker. And that's pretty bold topic to write about. And not everyone, I just think it's your comfort level, and it totally just depends on how, how far you want to go and how much you want to share. So it's not easy. It's scary.
Yeah. And so I guess what are the main challenges when you're a small publisher, you're one or two people trying to do an awful lot of work. How do you
Yeah.
go about marketing a book and selling it? And how difficult is that process?
I mean, it's been in the past, how we started was I always had interns working with me. I would be me and an intern or an assistant and the author, and the three of us would come up with a list. We would, try to come up with like 100 names of people to pitch. And I mean, it's as soon as the book was edited, even if it was still a little bit rough, we would have like that, and we would create a cover and it just bang it out, have a cover, and now you've got a PDF, and then we would just start researching like mad, who would want to read this book and review it or write an article about it. And so we were really bold about who we approached, and we went to all of the big um, media outlets, and all like we would approach the most high profile writer in that genre and try to get a blurb from them. Like we got a blurb from, the Damned, that band,
Yeah,
the Damned. We got a blurb from Captain Sensible for one of our books.
he's a legend.
Selection. So, we would do things like that, like just try, we just went big and it paid off, so that was my there's all kinds of different, ways you can promote a book, but like just for someone who has like we had limited resources and just a few people. If you know how to pitch and get an article, in the Guardian or in whatever newspaper, if you get someone who has a big platform and a lot of influence interested in what you're doing, that's the fastest route to selling books. That was what I discovered.
Right.
So book awards are pretty, those are total long shots, although we did submit to a lot of book awards too.
Did you get any success with that or not?
No, I don't think we did have any book awards. We had plenty of award-winning writers in our anthologies, but yeah, it's something that I feel like for the nonfiction titles, there were far less book awards for the
Mm,
memoirs and the nonfiction titles, and anthologies almost no, I don't know, maybe just a couple. So we didn't have as many opportunities as like a fiction publisher. They would
mm,
like the Booker Prize doesn't even exist for nonfiction.
mm. Yeah, yeah, it is a difficult one. And
Yeah.
actually, coming at it from the competition side of things, there are far fewer writing competitions just based around memoirs than there are anything else.
It's really true. Yeah. So I just we did the best we could and that we did submit to a lot and then just you know um, in the end you start finding nonfiction book awards that charge fees and then you're like, "Oh, I see where we're going now." You're gonna make us pay to send this. So, um, for someone who's running like a book publishing company just purely from a creative point of view, it's like I did submit a lot and I paid a lot of money for book award submissions. And then at a certain point, it just stopped because you just have to be aware of like, your resources and where you want to spend them. So
So when you were going to produce a book, how, for example, how did you get the print run done? Do you just use a printer or how does
we
that work?
did, yeah, I mean, we had like, we started out with Ingram Spark. That's the self-publishing slash small publisher platform. And it, we did later use some of the smaller printers like Short Runs and I think we used 4 Edge was another one. But you have pre-orders. Pre-orders start like as soon as the book has a cover and is on the website, and you generate income from the pre-orders, and that's what how you fund your first print run. But we always did really small print runs, like under 400 copies.
Right. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you about sales. I mean, how did you view, what level of sales for you was
Um,
successful?
I have a question. You said something very interesting in the beginning, and I want to get deep, more specific. Um, you said that you don't feel you had the personality for as to fit the writer.
be
I
the
don't know.
face of the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, specifically, the reason I asked that is because I feel the same way. So, but specifically for you, why do you say that?
Uh, because I prefer, I think because when I became a book publisher and I started promoting other people's work, I realized how much I enjoyed promoting other people's work and how much I did not enjoy promoting my own work. There's also like there's a book called The Shy Writer and by C. Hope Clark that you may want to investigate because this isn't the only way to go. You don't have to abandon publishing because you don't have the, personality for it. There are plenty of shy writers out there, and I would recommend this book. It's just called The Shy Writer and Hope Clark, and she's written two. And I think it tells people how you can, be a shy person and promote your work and be successful at it. And I think she's
Yeah.
evidence of it. So, just for me, I don't, also because I wrote autobiographical work and you feel very vulnerable as as a memoirist, you can make yourself really vulnerable. It might have been different had I been writing fiction. It might have been a different story. I just felt like that just wasn't me to put myself out there and potentially hurt people that I didn't want to hurt, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of factors that went into that statement. So
Yeah, no,
It's
that
it's
could
not
be.
that I'm shy. I just don't. I'm not really a people person. You know.
well,
Um,
yeah,
I can see myself at a book signing. Okay. What what,
yeah,
what name would you like? Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Well, I mean, do a little investigating and see if how other people have
Mm,
managed to promote their books, when they're not the typical, outgoing, gregarious, character or whatever. I don't know, because you're selling yourself and your book.
yeah,
That, and
yeah,
I don't mean to be discouraging to say that. I just mean to say that, like, you have to, you're an amazing human being just because you were born and you're on this planet, and you wrote a book. So,
yeah,
I think you have to open up and let people know who you are inside. And that's, they want the experience of you and your book. That's my understanding. It's not always 100% of the way, but for an independent author, an independent publisher, yeah, you're selling this personal experience.
yeah.
So it,
Mhm.
it doesn't change a huge amount when you get bigger, but with the bigger publishers, I mean, they have different agendas and they can market you in different ways, but you still have to put yourself out there.
Mm.
And do
So
some of the
Thank
work.
you.
yeah.
Hmm. Thank you.
That's really useful. Sorry, Linda,
Or
you
maybe I could hire a double. You know, a
Well,
double for
a
me.
stunt double.
trust yourself. Trust yourself that you can do it, is what I say. Trust yourself that you can do it because it is possible, even if you might feel
Mm,
like I'm not a people person. That's a sort of a self-defeating statement, and I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just saying that you probably can do it if you gave it a shot, and if you just gave yourself that opportunity, you might surprise yourself. You never
mhm,
know.
mhm.
So.
Thank you.
I think that the boost of being published would turn me straight into a people person.
It might.
Uh,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It might.
Getting published is the hard bit.
Yeah. So we'll keep at it, I mean, that's the thing. It takes, just don't ever give up. If it's your dream and this is what you want to do more than anything else, just don't give up. Keep at it. So,
yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Julianne. Right, I've got a couple of final questions for you,
Okay. All right.
and we will let you stop talking.
Okay.
Um,